Japanese government, headed by Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, has approved a record draft budget of 106.6 trillion yen, trillion dollars, for the next fiscal year that begins on April 1, 2021. As Japan struggles to overcome the repercussions of the emerging coronavirus pandemic. The value of the budget for the new fiscal year that ends in March 2022 represents a new record for the 9th year in a row, despite continuing concerns about the health of Japan's financial situation. The value of the budget for the new fiscal year is 3.8% higher than the initial budget for the current fiscal year, according to the assurances of the Ministry of Finance. Bloomberg agency stated that the actual spending of the Japanese government during the next fiscal year may be much higher, given the possibility of resorting to approving supplementary budgets during the year, after the current fiscal year witnessed the approval of 3 supplementary budgets, with a total value of 73 trillion yen. To face the repercussions of the coronavirus pandemic. Striking a balance is the most difficult part of preparing a budget, said Taro Aso, Japan's finance minister. The government of Prime Minister Suga plans to issue new bonds worth 43.6 trillion yen during the next fiscal year to finance the budget, an increase of 11 trillion yen from the plan to issue bonds in the current fiscal year. About 41% of the budget will be covered by borrowing, compared to approximately 32% for the current year budget. Social spending allocations will increase in the new year's budget, reaching a record 35.8 trillion yen, equivalent to about a third of the total budget, in light of the rapid rise in the elderly population in Japanese society, which leads to an increase in health care and retirement expenditures, according to Kyodo Japanese News. At the same time, the defense budget will increase during the next fiscal year by 0.5% from the current fiscal year to 5.3 trillion yen, to continue setting records for the 7th year in a row, as the government says that Japan faces the risk of growing Chinese military capabilities and North Korea's nuclear and missile programs. Next year's draft budget also includes allocating 5 trillion yen to finance potential measures to confront the emerging coronavirus pandemic, at a time when Japan faces a return to the number of new infections since mid-November. Last Friday, the Bank of Japan decided to maintain a policy of super easing in order to stimulate the economy, which was affected by the outbreak of the new coronavirus, and to overcome deflation. The bank said, in a statement issued after the 2-day Monetary Policy Committee meeting, that despite the recovery in the Japanese economy, the pace of recovery is expected to be of a medium level, in light of the continued vigilance of the coronavirus epidemic. The statement added that the bank also decided to extend the program for supporting corporate finance for another 6 months until September of next year, in light of the increase in coronavirus infections in the country. And last May, the Bank of Japan decided to pump more money into banks to help them grant loans to companies, amid the economic repercussions resulting from the outbreak of the epidemic. Japan's economy recorded an annual growth rate of 22.9% during the third quarter of this year, the first growth the country recorded after a record contraction rate of 29.2% during the period from April to June last year. The Japanese government, headed by Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, has approved a record draft budget of 106.6 trillion yen, trillion dollars, for the next fiscal year that begins on April 1, 2021, as Japan struggles to overcome the repercussions of the emerging coronavirus pandemic. The value of the budget for the new